specifically, here's one of the most powerful stories you have is kind of when the light switch turned on for you on, I need to get my shit together. And that was the story of you, for me, it was the story of when you and your pregnant wife had to, were walking groceries up the stairs. Let's talk about the outside of the workplace and talk about, how to find yourself as a man or as a person. And then, those just realistic moments when you're like, oh man, like what is going on with my life?
That's so transitioning from the military, you're good at functioning within a structure, right? If there are guidelines and if you can see the guidelines and you understand them, you can become super efficient, and super effective. However, in your regular life, where the transition is hitting you most, your personal life, you're doing exactly what you said. You're trying to find yourself, right? And in searching for myself, I found that we were in this 1-bedroom apartment. My wife is 8 months pregnant at this point, and I'm working from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. trying to figure something out, right? Trying to find one avenue that I can go to, and it was I came home one day and I saw her. She was just sitting on the floor, all big and pregnant and crying. And so I asked her what's wrong, and she was like, I can't do this anymore, right? And that, I don't know how other men feel, but if the woman who is with your child and to be with you for the rest of your life says that she can't anymore, then you feel like, okay, what am I doing next? Because whatever I do next has to solve for this. Like, I can't come home and have this happen again, right? And so once that was happening, and here we are again. Had I been ahead of the benefits, had I had someone to help me go through the benefits and things like that, we would have been in a much, much better position to have a baby, to buy a house, and get all of those ends settled that I didn't really have. Here I went in at 18, and so basically, it's like 18-year-old, you're a man now, go out and do man stuff, right?
Right.
Pretty much.
Oh.
And I was struggling, I was struggling trying to keep up I'm strong enough for you to lean on me too, right? Yeah. When you don't feel like you can, I'm still strong enough for you, even though like on the inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I got to get a different job. I got to, my family, this is my family. And I'm the guide here again. Like I gotta to lead us somewhere, and it's a ton of pressure.
Did you ever feel like quitting?
I did feel like quitting, but feeling like quitting it makes me embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like I feel like really you're gonna that little voice creeps in, is like, really?
Yeah.
You've come this far and you're going to give up every step that you've taken this far, and so I threw my little pity party at one point, and we were trying to find somewhere to go and have our children, a house, and like I was in the closet, like just in there, like crying because I didn't see anything. I couldn't see. I had no vision of what was supposed to be next, and I've got a crying wife, and that thing that's happening with her, we're about to bring a child into the world, and I still don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going, because the Marine me isn't as effective in this environment where they're saying, no, don't bring the Marine you to work, know.
Yeah.
So,
and it's something to, and I'm, it's hard for military men, especially, to voice that, you know, they were embarrassed, and, you know, they had to figure out how to do things, and that they don't have all the answers. And it's even more, you know, to be able to say, man, I did lock myself in a closet and cry. And, you know, I wrote about it in my book. I locked myself in the bathroom one day when I saw my first electric bill in my new house.
Right.
I tell you, and, you know, the service does not set us up for the outside. I don't care how many transition classes you get. You don't get that class on just, that's the word.
Right.
That but
crash course.
It's a crash course, and you know, and McNulty will tell you, just like I'm about to tell you, you know, we're still figuring it out. You know, as successful as we have gotten from where we used to be, it's still a choice. And I'm saying that because this podcast is specifically for people who are walking down that path of just confusion and being lost, and there's hope out there, you know. And I wish you could shake this man's hand on the other side of me, because, you know, coming from where we used to be to where we are today, there's hope. So when you did figure it out, and you didn't figure it out, what was your next step to getting out of that?
You know, the first step that I took was, okay, you know, I believe that everything has to start at home. Mm-hmm. And my wife was going through her thing, and to be honest, I wasn't terribly good at relationships. Mm-hmm. You know, like I knew how to shoot an M16. You know, I knew how to I knew how to troubleshoot, you know, using schematics. I knew all of these things. You know, I'd proven and tested in all these things, and I could romp around with the guys, you know, which is what I had done for like the past 5 years, but getting out and trying to, because that's a transition too. You're transitioning into civilian relationships.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and to be able to say that I sat in the floor of my closet and cried. You know, that's not something that I would have said this easily then.
Nope.
Right? And that's a part of that relationship building that you need to be able to have, and I didn't have that. So my thoughts were, okay, well, I need to work on my relationship, and as long as I can have that foundation, as long as I can build from there, you know, that's home base. Mm-hmm. And then I can go and do anything else. But I'm trying to build that support system was my first thing. So me and Michelle started spending a lot more time together, or trying to spend a lot more time together. You know, kids, she was working in the mall, and I was working at the cell phone store, and, you know, working retail hours and barely seeing each other, missing each other all these different times, but trying to create a space where we can build the platform of our relationship so that we could do everything that we wanted to do, right? Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that light bill, man. Our lights were getting cut off like every other month, it felt like. And, you know, that wasn't something that we were prepared for.
Yeah.
It was, you know, transitioning into, okay, we're not in the barracks anymore. Now I'm responsible for my light bill, my water bill, you know, and food. I got to go and feed myself. There's no chow hall, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you mentioned hopelessness, because that feeling is a make or break feeling when you're in that space of hopelessness, because it's dark, you know, and part of it is you're creating darkness, because that's what our minds do. Whatever we anchor ourselves in, our mind is going to go and find every single thing, every experience we've ever had, and bring it to that moment, right? So we feel all of that darkness, and we need something that's a light, you know, something that, a candle in the distance. And I remember thinking, I can, like, I looked at my trophy cabinet, And I offer that advice to every transitioning military member. Is coming out of the military, you have a cabinet full of shiny trophies. You've accomplished so many different things.
Yes.
Things that people will never do in their life.
That's right.
And you've done it at the beginning of your life. So you've set yourself up for levels of achievement that many people won't see, right? But from time to time, you need to remember that. You need to look at your trophy case and admire what you've done, everything that because each trophy represents a challenge that you have faced and overcome.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the thing that, and I heard that in a church, and they were like, look at your trophy case and something, and I would later go and hear it at a different church, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe this trophy thing is something. I might need to hang on to that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was the next thing.
So you took that and you really, you wrote about it in A Girl's Gotta Have Her Own Money. That was kind of an anchor for a reflection point of what you never wanted to feel again, and that's kind of how you drove yourself to where you are today. Am I right?
Absolutely. I have this thing that says, I want to limit the amount of times that somebody can tell me no. Right? And if you tell me no, I'm probably going to, my brain goes into overdrive figuring out a way to not have this. And we need a healthy dose of no's in our life, because sometimes we just make some crap decisions, right? But we need that. But that feeling of seeing my wife on the floor, my lights being cut off, and just the depression, it's depression because you don't know. You don't have an example to follow. You don't have, my mom was back in Mississippi, so I would call her, but that was it. I still had to get off the phone and go face the world.
That's right.
Right? And you get to that point and you say, okay, well, I've experienced that. We're not having that anymore.
Good.
What do we do differently?
That's right.
Right.
And that's kind of, again, back to that failing forward. And, a lot of what I do today is, and I tell vets all the time, we are walking the course, and people have walked this course before us. And because we are out trying to figure it out for ourselves, we kind of forget that there's other people who have done it before us, and that's what you're doing. And I mean, man, I appreciate you so much, because you and I are so similar in the fact that we have knowledge and we don't need to hold on to it. What does it do for us to hold on to it? So we pay it forward, in a sense, and we've set that foundation. And it's, anybody listening today, I really love the structure of Maslow's pyramid, where we set the foundation, even as fathers and in our relationships, we set the foundation of the baseline of where we want to get to, that self-actualization. And the higher we set our foundation, the generation below us gets to walk that foundation at a higher level so they can reach self-actualization faster. And it should not be it shouldn't be a greedy thing, like, I don't want you to get to the pinnacle before I do. So
absolutely,
you're doing the best thing possible by writing these books, by speaking on Facebook Live and the Periscope, and you're giving just valuable information that is useful. And the thing is that people behind you will use that, and it's something, and I'm speaking for the both of us, it's something that both McNulty and I wish we had. We wish we had somebody that said, hey, I've been there, I've been there, I get it.
Absolutely.
So I want to, there's one thing about the book. You had to really kind of hone in on A Girl's Gotta Have Her Own Money. You came up with this title, and what were some parts of the book that you had to force yourself to write?
The why. The part about why I was on the path that I was on, and it's because it's a personal thing. It's a personal story, and